Hello, basketball fans, and welcome to another edition of Kings Court, brought to you by sports-kings.com. I'm Andy Flint. Today, along with me, I have Damon from Sports Kings.
How's it going, guys? The Brooklyn Nets did something that they have not done in over 13 years. For the first time against the San Antonio Spurs, they scored over 100 points.
Brooklyn! And we have Michael from Sports Kings.
What's up, guys?
And last but not least, we have Brandon from Sports Kings.
I am overly excited to be on the show. Michael, as you said, I'm Tim Tebow excited. Thank you for having me. Good morning to you guys. It's way too early for this.
And Michael's really glad that you brought up the Tim Tebow thing because he was going to anyways.
Yes, I was.
We're going to jump into a little bit of the All-Star action. As you guys all know, All-Star weekend is a week from today. Kicks off Friday night is the first night of the extravaganza. So, but first we're gonna do a little news, and this is right up Brandon and Michael's alleys because Michael is a Lakers fan. Brandon, obviously with the Phoenix Suns hat, is a Phoenix fan, even though he has that Akeem Olajuwon jersey in the background. But we're going to talk about Pau Gasol and the potential of him maybe landing in Phoenix. Now, it seems like the Suns are kind of being cautious with this because of Pau's groin strain there. But it seems like, this is a move. This is something the Suns kind of desperately lack is an older veteran type. And they kind of have this plethora of big guys that they shift in and out, and we don't really know who's there to stay, who's going to play big minutes one night, who's going to play big minutes the next night between the Morris brothers. The Morris brothers, yeah, that works too. Between the Morris brothers, Alex Len, and there's another guy in there. But so let's jump into this. We'll go to you first, Brandon, since this is your first show with us, and you are the Phoenix fans.
Thank you.
The Phoenix fan. What do you think of the potential of a Pau Gasol? And it looks like it's got to be an Okafor swap in order for the Suns to even want to do it. What do you think of this trade idea?
I'm really glad you mentioned that because I know I'm a Suns fan, but I'm also a realist, and I look at it like if we were to trade anybody else, I think to an extent that would be foolish. Okafor, has had an up and down career. I don't know what you guys think of Okafor, but I feel like he is the key player in that trade. I feel like we can maybe throw in a couple other guys, but me personally, I don't want to. And I'm glad that you also mentioned that, but they're taking a look at his groin injury for Pau Gasol anyways. I have to say this, and I don't know if you or anybody else was going to say it, but I trust our GM, Ryan McDonough. In my opinion, he should win GM of the year because he, in less than a year, has flipped our team. And that's just my opinion. I feel like Okafor is going to be the key piece, and hopefully we don't trade away too many assets because I like our team. If you look at our first 7 players, it's great. Maybe our first 8 players, including our starters, there's a lot of players that I wouldn't want to get rid of, even though I do like Gasol.
Yeah, I think there's the potential, and Jeff Hornacek's done a great job in Phoenix. I just think it always seems like you're never sure which guys are going to play, like the big guys, night in and night out, the big minutes. So, Michael, let's look at this from a Lakers standpoint. And how do you feel? Do you want to give them Steve Nash back?
Oh God, among other things. Like Andy was saying earlier, before we went live on air, we were talking about this for like 45 minutes, and he mentioned the Okafor thing. And having seen Okafor in Charlotte, he was great when he came out of college. We were really excited about it, and then all of a sudden, he gets traded, and I don't know what's happened to him. But if the Suns need to free up $15 million and he gets dumped, so be it. We'll take him. Who else are we gonna build around anyway? But I think I had on paper Pau Gasol going to Phoenix with a possible second for Alex Len, either Markieff or Marcus Morris, whichever one. I wanted both, but apparently that's not even in the cards right now. And at least one first-round pick, and it's probably not going to be a lottery. But right now, with Chris Kaman sleeping on the bench and looking like he got pinned by the Undertaker, I don't care. Give me somebody. This is it's not really tough being a Lakers fan. It's just kind of tough this year, and I get that. And And, I mean, if Pal goes, we had a good run, man. Good riddance.
Yeah, and it's funny you brought up the Chris Kaman thing because I completely forgot about that.
That's
R.I.P.
hilarious.
R.I.P. to Chris Kaman. He's officially dead. Damon, let's get your outside view on here because you're not a Lakers fan or a Suns fan. Not that I know of, at least. I'm not even sure who you like, Damon. But
Unfortunately, I can't say my team is in any kind of bandwagon because I'm not even sure we have fans. But I'm rooting for the Atlanta Hawks. But from my point of view, from what I've seen, I don't think this deal should happen just based off the fact that this is a young Suns team that is growing together. And when you mess with continuity, and it messes up the entire thing. Bringing in Pau Gasol, yes, he may be a nice addition in terms of veteran leadership, but at the end of the day, why toy with something that's already working well? I think the next thing, if you're the Lakers, if you're going to make a move to Pau Gasol, I think the best thing to do for him is to send him to a team that is a contender. I think Pau Gasol is an extremely nice guy. The problem is that's been his problem his entire career is that he's been too soft. But the thing about it is that he's always been able to put up numbers in his prime. I think now with no Kobe, you have a lot of young guys on that Lakers squad. I think the best thing to do would be to send him to a team that has a shot in winning an NBA championship.
yeah, and I agree. And to your point, I kind of liked what you said there about the continuity of the young team in Phoenix. Obviously, they don't want to put themselves in a situation where they have to get rid of either Goran Dragic or Eric Bledsoe.
Yep.
Obviously, that's probably not even something they're discussing, I would assume. But I almost like the Pau thing just because, as I mentioned probably 5 times now, I don't ever know who Phoenix is going to be giving the heavy minutes to at the power forward or center position night in and night out. But at the same time, you don't want to give up much. And it seems like the Lakers were looking for more from the Cavaliers when they were talking about the Bynum deal. I think they wanted Dion Waiters in that deal. So What would they want from Phoenix? And I look at it, if it was just Okafor, the Lakers save about $5 million as both contracts expire at the end of the year. But you would probably be looking realistically at something like an Alex Len, one of the Morris twins, and Okafor. And probably you might even have to give up a first-round pick in that too, just to get Pau Gasol back. And to me, I don't feel like that's something that the Suns should do at this point.
I agree, Andy. I was also going to say that this is just a back thought. It kind of goes off topic, but Gasol coming to the Suns, I think, would bring a little more attention. But again, that's just a back thought because you look at our roster and we don't have like a Kevin Durant, LeBron James type all-star. But then again, I liked what Damon was saying about, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So.
Absolutely. So let's jump into our next topic.
You should have had an all-star, though. You should have had Goran Dragic should be an all-star.
Yes.
We'll get to that.
Yes.
We'll get to it.
I agree. So that's going to open up this next topic, Michael. I'm glad you said that. The next topic here that I have written down is the All-Star game and potential snubs. Now, we talked a little bit about this prior to the show leading up that, I kind of wanted everybody to pick out maybe one snub from each conference because Lord knows there's more than one in each conference. And, I mean, we don't have all year to speak about this. We could probably do an entire hour show to this. But let's maybe talk. Each person give me one snub from both the East and the West, and then also I want you guys to put in who you would take out as a result of that, because we can't bring a guy in the fold without taking one out that's already there. So let's go to you first, Damon, and why don't you give us your snub, one snub from the East, one snub from the West, and who they could potentially replace. But let's go with who they could potentially replace off the bench, because I know the starters. I know everybody wants to talk about Kobe probably, shouldn't be in the All-Star game, or maybe even a Dwayne Wade. But let's talk about the reserves, because after all, the coaches did pick these guys, and I think it's the coaches that we think kind of did a shoddy job with some of their picks. So we'll start with you, Dana.
No disrespect to him. I'm going to start on the West Coast. No disrespect to him. I don't think that Chris Paul should be on the roster. I really do believe that. That's just how big of a fan I am of Goran Dragic this season. Because I feel like if you take him off that team, you know, I'm not gonna say they're gonna be a terrible team, but I don't really know if they're the same team at at this point. Chris Paul has been injured. He's missed a lot of games, most recently, but I think
Like a month, like a full month.
yeah, so that should have played into a factor, and it goes right back to the whole, sometimes it seems like it's more of a popularity contest than anything, because I can't see how a coach would sit here and say, well, Chris Paul's been gone for a month. Goran Dragic has been playing just about every game this season, and he's been playing lights out. So I'm going to go with Chris Paul. I don't see how any logical coach would make that kind of decision. But then again, that's why I'm sitting here with you guys talking.
Scott Brooks.
On the East Coast, I really don't have a problem with who I have in the reserve side. I think the only player that I could really make a dispute for, me and you did talk about this, Andy, Joe Johnson from Brooklyn. I don't think he was really deserving enough to make the All-Star. And again, the Eastern Conference is a watered-down version of your mother's soup. Not your mother's, but the audience mother's.
My mother doesn't make watered-down soup.
But I just feel that, once again, it goes back to the popularity contest, because Joe Johnson has made the All-Star game just about a year when he was at Atlanta. And so it's become to the point where it's, okay, well, Joe Johnson's here in the East Coast. He's putting up decent numbers. No one else is really worthy of it, so let's go ahead and give him the spot.
Yeah, and we're going to go to you next, Michael, but before we do that, I really like the Chris Paul thing, and nobody else has seemed to say that. You're the first person, Damon. I said this the other night on our Court Vision show with War Room Sports, that I thought maybe Chris Paul, I want to move Kobe out of there, but we're talking reserves, and I think Chris Paul, not that he didn't deserve it while he was playing, because heck, the guy was great, but he's missed a month pretty much at this point, and I just felt like when you get into the situation where there's so many guys that deserve a spot, why not move Chris Paul's been there plenty of times. He has many more years to be there as well. So let's let somebody else who's deserving, and Dragic is a good example. So right to you, Michael, what are your thoughts on both the East and the West? Give me one player each and somebody they can replace, unless you don't have one.
Well, looking through the snubs, I don't even know if I could pick one, so I kind of did two. I don't care. I'm a rule breaker, so what? Sue me. West Coast, besides Goran Dragic, since we've already talked about that, I won't even count that. Where is DeMarcus Cousins? Andy, where's our boy DeMarcus Cousins?
He is in Sacramento. Actually, he might be calling somebody right now. I hear a phone.
He's in Sacramento doing nothing. He should be on this roster. He's I don't want to say he's being Kevin Durant right now, because he's obviously not going to be anywhere close to Kevin Durant right now.
It's DeMarcus Cousins.
But DeMarcus Cousins has been kind of, putting his Kings team on his back and saying, we may be the Kings, but we're getting out of the cellar. He should be on this list. East Coast, where's Lance Stevenson? The guy's, he's the fifth. He's got like the fifth best defensive numbers in the Eastern Conference. You're going to need some defense. Obviously it's an all-star game. Not many people care about defense. But seriously, come on. The guy, he's putting up great numbers. Kyle Lowry's doing 18.3 points a game. Where's Kyle Lowry? Where's Michael Carter-Williams? Michael Carter-Williams is arguably one of the best players.
Oh, that's a good point. I haven't heard anyone say that.
Even though he's a rookie or, your first year, underrated. He's probably one of the top 10 underrated guys in the NBA right now. Where is he? He's going to be in the Young Stars game. He needs to be in the real man's game. Put Michael Carter-Williams in the real man's game.
All right, so on to you, Damon. Brandon, who do you have?
First off, I love that Michael Carter-Williams pick. I didn't think about that till just now. First off, all the guys that I'm going to mention real quick highly deserve it. All these guys I'm about to mention could form their own all-star team. For the East, I think you just said it, or it was just mentioned, Kyle Lowry, hands down. I think it's kind of a no-brainer, but the reason Kyle Lowry didn't get the pick was because he's on Toronto. and I don't think there's a lot of attention in Toronto, so they snubbed him. He deserves it though, and you guys were talking about it. You think that Joe Johnson doesn't deserve the All-Star slot? I think Kyle Lowry could have replaced him because the East, there's a lot of good guards in the East, but it's not guard heavy like it is in the West. So that's my pick for the East. And I don't know if it's been mentioned, but DeAndre Jordan for the Western Conference. I'm a huge fan of DeAndre. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of DeAndre. It's kind of cliche, but he's getting better each year, and the guy can fly. So I think in a game where defense doesn't matter until the fourth quarter, DeAndre Jordan would be scary in the All-Star game. He deserves it. I think he's like averaging 10 and 10. So those are my two picks.
He's one of a handful of guys who averages, double-digit rebounds in this league, and he's a heck of a defender. He's up there in blocked shots. You guys have pretty much, ran through and you dried up the well on me a little bit there.
Third in block shots, Andy.
Third in block shots, exactly.
30 block shots per game.
So you guys have dried up the well on me here, and I don't really have a lot left to say. I will just mention a couple of guys. Boogie Cousins to me. I mean, obviously I have a little bias there because he's my boy. But with that said, I feel like maybe the 17-32 record or whatever it is kind of holding him back a little bit.
2.4 points per game? Come on.
I think he's playing the best basketball at the center position right now. Goran, obviously, you guys talked about him. The only other one I really had in the West that I could have saw being in there was I had Anthony Davis. He missed some time, but he's been playing phenomenal basketball as well.
I almost put him on the list too.
Yeah, but it's hard. It's hard to figure out.
Orleans.
It is. It's hard to figure out who to replace. I said the other night that I thought maybe you replace Dirk. I mean, Dirk's having a good season, but at the same time, I feel like a guy like Cousins is having a better season than Dirk.
Yeah, I agree.
As far as the East goes,
Kings Arena now.
Oh, we don't even want to talk about the Smoothie Kings, the Smoothie Kings Pelicans. But as far as the East goes, a couple names you guys did mention: Kyle Lowry, Lance Stevenson. Those were two of the big ones. Al Jefferson was another one I thought.
Ooh, yeah.
He's kind of resurrected the Bobcats a little bit. He's playing pretty good defense this year. And a few more names real quick because I don't want to dwell on this all day. Aaron Aflalo, Kemba Walker, Jeff Teague, Thaddeus Young. I mean, again,
Victor
all teams. Maybe Victor. All these teams, most of these teams aren't winning basketball games, but neither is Joe Johnson with the Brooklyn Nets was all I could think of time and time again.
I can't believe I left off Jeff Teague. Oh.
Although I don't have a problem with John Wall, DeMar DeRozan, Roy Hibbert, Chris Bosh, and Paul Millsap. I think those were all pretty solid selections. We talked about this on War Room Sports as far as
I would like to throw in one more guy.
Okay.
I think he's a starter. I'm not very sure. I'm pretty sure he is. Dwayne Wade. No disrespect to him.
Yeah.
But when you look at that Miami Heat team, when you look at it, the whole plus minus statistic. I know some people don't really look into that, but I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure that Chris Bosh ranks number 2 behind LeBron James in terms of who has the more impact so far this season for the Miami Heat. Dwayne Wade, he's played nice, but at the end of the day, like you guys have about, there have been other guys more deserving to be in the All-Star game over Dwayne Wade.
But that's the whole thing coming back to the start.
Your new kid, man.
If we that takes more time starting with the starters. I mean, you could easily put a John Wall in for a Dwayne Wade, and then that opens up a spot on the reserves. Mm-hmm. But let's kick on to our next subject here. I know the scrutiny over how these coaches and how these fans pick these games could last forever. But let's jump into the next part of All-Star Weekend, which is everybody's favorite, the dying dunk contest. And I say dying because when's the last time But the thing is here, guys, bear with me. Let me explain this here. I feel like this is the first time in a long time that we've seen some semi-big names in the dunk contest, like a few of them.
It's true.
We generally you'll have one guy who's decent, and the rest are like no names or young guys who can all dunk. But I'm telling you, what draws in the fans is having the bigger name guys, and we have them. Terrence Ross, who won it last year, who put on a show. Paul George, who, let's just forget about his little light-up electric light dunk that he did a few years ago because it was atrocious.
You didn't like that?
Oh, it was awful. That was the worst dunk contest I can think of. Then we have Damian Lillard, who's taken the league by storm. We have John Wall. We have Ben McLemore, which everybody thinks Ben McLemore is a shooter. I don't know who saw that the video at the Kings practice facility towards the beginning of the year of Wall putting down that 360. And then we have Harrison Barnes, too, who's another guy who can get up there, and he's a decent name. So let's go to you first, Michael. First, real quick, let's talk about, your expectations for having a little star power in the dunk contest this year, and then give us who you think's going to win.
Well, first off, I don't think anybody's cared about the dunk contest since two guys named Dominique Wilkins and Michael Jordan were playing.
Well, I cared about it when Vince Carter had the best performance ever in 2000.
That arguably is the best dunk contest.
Yeah.
Okay, but Michael, go ahead.
I think it's, for somebody who doesn't really care about it as much, I think it's kind of nice to see some names that I actually recognize, especially, being a DCSK guy. Quick plug, www.sports-kings.com/DC Sports Kings.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So obviously this might be a little biased, but I gotta take Washington's own John Wall. Wall, yes. You got to throw it down in the 919. He's going to surprise some people. I think he's got some massive tricks up his sleeve.
He needs to use Vince Carter as a prop, and after he dunks, he needs to yell at Vince Carter and get in his face, because that's what he did in that one game. It was ridiculous. Let's go right to you, Brandon. Your thoughts on the star power, and who do you think's going to win?
Well, first off, I know it's just 6 people, but Wall, Ross, and George, that's pretty scary right there. I'm a big John Wall fan. I just kind of feel like I don't know if he can get up in this dunk contest. I know it's a dunk contest, but I don't think he's going to do it. That's just my personal opinion. Now, last year I was totally hating on Terrence Ross, and wow. And it's not even just the dunk contest. What he's done this year, he's a scary dunker. I know that you didn't like Paul George's, light-up dunk, but I think Paul George might sneak in there. Now, the one that kind of got me was Ben McLemore. I'm like, I know that he can get up, but I was like, really? And real quick, Harrison Barnes, if I can, he's just a game dunker, in my opinion. I like him. He can get up, though. And maybe Damian Lillard might shock some people. The only catch with Damian Lillard, he's, 6'3"? And it seems like all of his dunks are just him going up like this. So, I don't know. But the star power is nice, and I love what you guys said. And this goes back to, I think Michael said it earlier about Kemba Walker being an all-star snub, is the names are going to highlight this dunk contest. It's going to get a lot of attention. Was it you, Andy? I'm sorry.
That was Andy.
So you're a winner. Who do you have as a winner, Brandon?
For the winner, I think I'm going to go a little cliche, and I think Terrence Ross might get it, but I expect Paul George to be in the final round. So I'm going to go Terrence Ross. That's just because I was eating my own words last year.
So same question to you, Damon.
I think I love this. I love this. Whoever's idea it was to get these guys to come in definitely need to get a raise, because part of the problem is that you have to also realize that All-Star Weekend is just like the Super Bowl, guys, because you have a lot of fans who aren't necessarily into basketball, but they want to see stuff like this, and so they get upset when they see guys with braces winning dunk contests. Shout out to Jeremy Evans. So the whole thing is, you have to, when you have these type of events, you have to bring in star power no matter what. And the NBA got it right this time for the first time, I can't even say how long. I would say this is probably the best slate of contestants we've seen probably since 2008, when we had Dwight Howard, Gerald Green, with the birthday cake. I'm sorry, he shouldn't have done that. But this is what the NBA needs right now, and my winner, I'm going to go with John Wall, because I really do believe that he's going to surprise a lot of people with his hops. And let me say this about John Wall. This is a guy that if he gets this jump shot deal going consistently, this league is his. I promise you. He plays
Right.
defense, he scores, passes, he makes everyone around him better. And then you have a guy like Bradley Beal on his, on his side. This is going to be a Wizards team. They continue to build it right. They're going to be a real problem in a few years.
Shout out to my boy Carlos Edwards. I used to write for Pass the Pill a little bit, but he was saying just last night that he believes in 2 or 3 years John Wall will be hands down the best point guard in the NBA. I thought it was a bold claim. I said maybe top 3, top 5 for sure. I'm a big Wall fan, but he's number 1. He's saying, and without a doubt, and it's not even going to be close. But that's a little off track. I like the two of you actually said John Wall. Brandon, you said Terrence Ross, the winner from last year.
Yeah.
You guys have pretty much said everything you can say about this dunk contest, so you don't really need a lot of commentary from me. I'm ecstatic that they brought in some names this year because that's what's been – I've watched the dunk contest the past 2 years, but I didn't watch it live because I wasn't drawn in by the names. This year's different. I want to see John Wall. I want to see Damian Lillard. I want to see these guys, Paul George. I want to see Paul George redeem himself. I think he will. But I'm going with Harrison Barnes because I think part of the dunk contest for me is power. You can have all the finesse in the world, but you need to lay it in there. And Terrence Ross did a good job of that last year, just hammering it down. We always saw with Vince Carter, he looked majestic and he floated through the air. But he didn't bring any weak stuff. His dunks were hard. They made the rim rattle, and I think Harrison Barnes is going to bring that and surprise some people.
Right.
Let's move right into this next part of the All-Star Weekend, and that's the Rising Stars Challenge, or the Rookie Sophomore thing, as we like to call it, because we're not kids here. We're adults. We've been watching this for a few years. We don't go with this new Rising Stars Challenge label. But I do like the way they do it now with drafting teams. We saw, Shaq and Barkley drafted teams last year, which was fun. We had Chris Webber and the very cerebral Grant Hill this year draft these teams, and I like the outcome. So as far as this goes, let's just talk real quick, and I'll give the names first, and then we'll just bounce it around, and you guys can quickly tell me who you think's going to win this game, and give an explanation. So Team Grant Hill is Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal, Andre Drummond, Harrison Barnes, Terrence Jones. I'm not even going to disrespect my boy Giannis from the Milwaukee Bucks and attempt to pronounce his last name because it was a disaster. Jonas Valanciunas, Dion Waiters, and Hero Antic. I think that's how you pronounce his name, the rookie from the Hawks. Then Team Weber is Anthony Davis, Brow, my boy. Michael Carter Williams, who we've talked about a little today. Tim Hardaway Jr., Trey Burke, Jared Sullinger, Mason Plumlee. That's whose name I couldn't remember earlier. Miles Plumlee from the Suns when we were talking about Gasol. Victor Oladipo, my boy, Steven Adams, and then Kelly Olynyk. So let's go to you first, Michael. We talked about this a little beforehand, and I think we don't really see eye to eye. Who do you think is going to win this, Team Hill or Team Weber? And the curveball you were asking for earlier is, who do you think is going to be the most valuable player of this game?
Curveball. All right.
A little bit.
It's about time. Like Andy was saying, we were discussing this earlier while we were waiting for another show. But personally, I love Team Weber. I love it. They've got the reigning Rookie of the Month, Victor Oladipo. Kelly Olynyk's a guy that I've always liked when he came out of Gonzaga. Michael Carter Williams. I'm not even a Sixers fan, and I love that guy. That guy's just he's flat out. He can play.
My Rookie of the Year pick.
Ooh. Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Good call.
All right. Mason Plumlee's a Duke guy, so you figure why didn't I go Team Hill? But I like the way it's set up. They look to be a little bit younger, a little bit faster. They are a little bit smaller, but they bring some size with Jared Sullinger and Kelly Olynyk. But the point that Andy was making to me as a counterpoint was who's going to start. Like he was saying that, he can already pick out the starting 5 for the most part on Team Hill. Who's going to start for Team Weber? It's, I can see that, but MCW, Michael Carter Williams, MVP of this game. He's going to drop 31.
All right. All right, I like that prediction. So let's go to
And
you next, Damon.
just right quick, Andy, I was close. Not to get off topic a little bit, I said in the Super Bowl show, Peyton Manning was going to go for 300 yards. He threw for 280, so I was close. I'll go over under 4 points on Michael Carter Williams, anywhere from the 27 to 31 range.
31. Okay, so let's go to you next, Damon. Same question to you. Team Hill, Team Weber, and who's your MVP?
Oh, you definitely have to go with Team Hill on this one. You have a balance of outside. You have outside and you have inside. This is just and not to mention, guys, this is going to be an interesting duo to watch. Damian Lillard and Bradley Beal, because this is one thing that we've seen in past games with this rookie sophomore game is that the small guys seem to always dominate this game. And you remember a few years back, Kyrie Irving completely dominated, just draining threes left and right. It was just ridiculous. But with that being said, my MVP will be Pistons' Andre Drummond. I think he's a guy that he once again, going back to the whole prediction deal, I think in a few years he's going to seriously dominate. About this guy has possibly the best center in the National Basketball Association.
I like that. And Drummond's another guy I really appreciate his player. So let's go to you, Brandon. I'm just saying that with every player you guys like talk up, I'm like, yeah, that's my guy. Am I lying or am I genuine? So Brandon, let's go to you. Same question. Which team's gonna win and who's your MVP?
Damon, I have to say, I totally have to agree with everything you just said. I really liked what you just said. Team Weber, they were saying that it's like a track team, put on your track shoes, they're going to run. And I like that team. Both teams have, highlight players on paper. They both look good on paper, but I think Team Hill's going to sneak in there. I think due to Damian Lillard, who, by the way, made NBA All-Star history by being in all 4 events, I think he's going to take it easy. So, but again, Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal would be fantastic. I think I got Team Hill in this one. As for my MVP, I don't know. I'm kind of up and down. If Team Weber wins, I'm going to have to kind of go on the boat here with what all you guys are saying. Michael Carter Williams. If I'm correct, the guy's the leading rookie in rebounds. He's 6'5". The guy can get up. I really like Michael Carter Williams, so if Team Weber wins, I got him. And Team Hill, I take a shot in the dark, Andre Drummond. I really like Andre Drummond. I don't know if he could be called in for an all-star snub as well. And I don't mean to go off topic. I apologize for this. Isn't Miles Plumlee, not Mason Plumlee, isn't Miles Plumlee in his second year? Why isn't he in this game? Where's he at?
I wondered the same. I think some of what happened to Miles Plumlee, though, is what I alluded to when we were talking about the Pau thing. That Jeff Hornacek rotation can be cruel some nights. I mean, this guy started out the season like a 10-10 guy, and he's fallen since. I mean, I think he's like a 7-9 guy maybe now. I'm just shooting in the dark here.
You're right.
I have him on my fantasy team, one of my fantasy teams, so I was really happy to have him at first, but he's, that rotation's hurting him a little bit. As for my picks, I hate to leave Michael, my boy, Michael, alone in the dark here, but I'm going to go with Team Hill too. I honestly don't even think it's going to be close, though I could be wrong. I picked Team Shaq last year, and they lost by like 30-some points to Team Chuck, and it was partially due to the fact that Team Chuck was a track team, and we saw the big guys taking it home. I mean, Kenneth Faried, the Manimal, was crazy. He was dunking on everybody, and I think that we could see a lot of that same thing from Anthony Davis this year, so that kind of scares me. But I feel like, Team Hill, and I said this to Michael earlier, nothing against C-Web because I love C-Web. He's that goofy, lovable analyst. But I just think Grant Hill trumps him in the intelligence department. I feel like it shows in the roster because he has an actual roster here. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. Maybe Weber's onto something because you don't need a traditional roster for this type of game. But I can easily say it's going to probably be Lillard, Beal, Drummond, Barnes, and probably Waiters as starters. And I just feel like Damian Lillard's going to light this event up. Brandon, you hit the nail on the head talking about all these events he's in this year. We're going to see him shoot threes. Yep. We're going to see him in the skills competition. So I'm going to go
the Greek god of whatever the heck his last name is.
He's the
Dionis Antetokounmpo. I probably butchered that, but
that's probably closer than what I would have said. You don't even want to hear what was going to come out of my mouth. But I'm going Damian Lillard, and I'll even go something towards like what Michael said. I think he's going to dump like 35 points. He's just going to jack threes all game, I think. So there's the picks there.
That's what the whole game is.
It is. So let's jump into our last topic because we're eating time here at this point. I don't want to bore everybody. Our last topic was one Michael brought up actually after we had the topic slated in, and it was too good to turn an eye from. So LeBron James, people. Yes, LeBron James, the king of South Beach, is in the media.
Who's this guy?
He says that he should be defensive player, and his explanation was because he guards everybody on the court. And I think he kind of has a valid, beef with this because he does guard every position. And it's not just, in a playoff run or in the finals like we saw Magic Johnson do years ago. LeBron's doing it in the regular season, and he's putting up great numbers. He's kind of jealous of Kevin Durant's shot attempts. What do we think, and we'll start with you, Brandon, what do you think about LeBron's comments, and do you think he has a valid argument for Defensive Player of the Year?
Okay, I'm actually one of those LeBron James fans. I don't know if there's many of you out there, but I'm a LeBron James fan. Thank you, Andy. It's interesting because if I understand LeBron's argument, he's what, 6'8", 265. In a way, the guy could probably play power forward or center if he wanted to because he can get up and he's strong. But if he's making the argument, it's because I can guard everybody, well, then I'm going to go to my hometown here, give it to P.J. Tucker because P.J. Tucker can lock down Kobe Bryant. He can lock down LeBron James. Name a player, P.J. Tucker can stop him, Carmelo Anthony. Statistics-wise, I think, LeBron's in the running. I think that's been like every year for years now, but I don't know. I'm a little on and off about this one.
So, Michael, I know that you actually had some stats here you were telling me earlier, so let's go to you on this. This was your topic anyways.
I am 100% against LeBron James being Defensive Player of the
Year.
100%. If I could go 150%, I would. This guy's not even in the top 20 when it comes to what do they call defense? Minimum 40 games played in 100 possessions, points allowed. He's not even in the top 20. Your top
good stats,
five,
Michael. Good stats.
From 5 to 1. Joakim Noah, 96.1 points per 100 possessions. David West, 95.4. Andrew Bogut, Andrew Bogut, 95.2. Paul George, 94.7. And my Defensive Player of the Year, Roy Hibbert, 94.3.
Yeah.
Why is the whole Pacers starting lineup in there?
Defense, man. Defense wins championships. LeBron, you're not Dwight Howard is even, in the top, 15. No. Roy Hibbert is my Defensive Player of the Year.
All right, so let's go to you, Damon. What do you think? Is this outlandish? Is this as outlandish as Michael's making it sound?
This is one of the things that I find kind of interesting. It seems like LeBron James seems to always chime in about the Defensive Player of the Year award, which kind of indicates that he's about playing defense. He wants to play the game of defense. It's as simple as that. He wants to be an all-around player, and he wants to prove that not only can he be the MVP, not only can he score, not only can he pass, but he can also play defense. And I think one of the things right now is I'm not gonna say who should be the Defensive Player of the Year award because we're not even close to the end of the year. But if I am to give the award to somebody, I am going to take my pick from someone from the Indiana Pacers, and it's no one that Michael just named. I'm going to go with Lance Stevenson as my Defensive Player of the Year.
Nice.
And I like that.
Pick.
And
Nice.
He might be in there, too. I mean, they might just get the entire Pacers starting five in that top five.
He is fifth in the Eastern Conference, and when it comes to all defensive stats put together, they did say Lance Stevenson was fifth. But even Serge Ibaka, his rating, his defense was 99.2. I mean, still, that's even better than LeBron James. John Henson from the Milwaukee Bucks, 109.6, a little high.
John Henson.
Still nobody. Nazr Muhammad, I've seen NBA.com had it as a 91.7, but I mean all that guy does is play defense. But still,
Right.
LeBron, if you're gonna make these claims about how you should be Defensive Player of the Year, stats, man, you need to show it. I mean,
One thing beyond the
fantastic,
stats. Let me come to LeBron's defense a little bit here. I think that it goes a little deeper than the stats. Sometimes I feel like you have to include and incorporate things such as the eye test. What I'm seeing and what I see when I watch Miami Heat play is a lot of their offensive points, their possessions, come from defense. They steal the ball, they run the fast break, that sort of thing. They play that short, that half court defense. And LeBron's energy is probably the biggest part to that. I feel like the Miami Heat's entire game is predicated off LeBron's energy and what he can do on the defensive end. That being said, I feel like this has kind of become a big man award. You're seeing, Marc Gasol, Tyson Chandler, Dwight Howard 600 times. I feel like we're in this trend where you almost have to be a center to win this award. And honestly, I feel like if you look at a guy like Marc Gasol, there's a huge case to make for him again this year because Memphis was kind of miserable when he was out with injury. And now that he's back,
7-1 since he's
now that he's back, they're a completely different team. He's an anchor. He's very good on the ball, stopping the bigger guys, which kind of gets overlooked because there's not a lot of good offensive big men in the league these days. But he does a lot for that team, and I think I don't think it's outlandish what LeBron's saying, I guess is what I'm getting to, but I don't know that he'll win it. So this show has been kind of long. I enjoyed it a lot. Having new guys like Brandon and Damon on with us has been great. I urge you all to like our video, comment on it, subscribe to our page. Head on over to www.sports-kings.com. You can read everybody on this panel's work there. There's our logo. Michael, I found that on the first try this time.
Hey!
You can head to Facebook under the.
Andy, check it out, man. I didn't put anybody on the wrong team, or I didn't put Eric Bledsoe in LA this time, or I didn't put
that's worthy. So, head on over to Facebook, guys, and you can search Sports-Kings. That's our like page. We have plenty of interaction on that page. Hit us up with a like, hit us up with a shout out, post comments. We're there to answer these kind of questions, and we post relevant stuff on a daily basis. Until next time, I want to thank everybody for checking out this second episode of King's Court here on YouTube. Have a great day.